So fun to me, you know, fuck me, live, live, man.
Whoa!
Yeah,
What's he saying? What's he saying? It's your boy Taye.
yeah, man. This is make it talk to me, but no.
Yes, Ankoma, Djed.
Yeah,
And tonight, we're going to talk about weed. We're going to talk about ganja, cannabis, smokes. And of course, everybody would know within the recent days, Trinidad and Tobago government, through the Attorney General Faris Alwari, laid a bill in Parliament that has a lot of people talking because it's going to be freeing up the herb. But while that might be the stated intention, we have to figure out if that is actually what's going to happen. Because I get the impression that there's a lot more going on than what was said. So, having had just a couple of days to take a look at the legislation, the proposed legislation, um, I haven't really dug into it, but we're going to have a bigger, broader conversation with a little more input. But tonight, we definitely want to touch on a few things. So,
the timing was a little off.
timing was a little off.
Yeah, why I say that is because Wednesday, or whatever the America had the federal thing. Then
Right.
all of a sudden, it come up in Trinidad agenda like out of the blue. And I mean, even though it was supposed to happen a long time ago, now they make it a priority and it just pop up out of the blue and thing. And they say there's lend suspicion to them being people who's trying to appease the foreign powers, you know what I mean? Mainly United States and
Well, that's one way of looking at it. What are you saying?
Well, it's a long time now. They was promising the first deadline that we did hear about was July. When Keith Rowley said that on our platform, he expect by July they would have something to motion. Then they did have a September deadline, and that come and pass too. So now they come out now, and the timing what you talking about, well, it have the federal government in US voted the motion into decriminalize hood on a federal level, which is a kind of groundbreaking something for them. But then locally now we have the local elections. That was the time when people was more studying about that now. They say that they had the local elections and they're trying to use the marijuana issue as a political tool to gather votes and things and whatnot. Because about a week prior to them doing this now, Kamala went on a platform and was mentioned legalization as part of her platform as well.
right.
So they
But she also
definitely
do that in previous election when she did win.
she said it before.
Yeah. So she get Orange Sky and all them to support her, really. You know what I mean? It's like she gonna bring up this thing here.
So
Okay.
it and a lot of circles, people are seeing this as a political issues, but for the user, the smoker, the consumer, the people who are interested in cannabis as a medicinal product, the people who are in cannabis lifestyle advocates. For them, it's not a political issue. For them, it is, and I have to say for us because we here on different sides of it. I'm not a smoker, but I'm not impartial to edibles or other consumables. I would not have a problem with drinking an infused wine.
Right.
I would not have a problem with using drops of oil. I would not have a problem. I wouldn't say I would be trying to get high. I'm too much of a, I don't want to say a control freak, but I would like to stay in control of all my faculties. So I would be very discreet about what type of experience that I would be seeking out using cannabis. But that's just for me. I'm not gonna look down on anybody who is pursuing any kind of high. Where you have their boy, where I have a problem with that. You are an adult male, adult female. You want to get high. That's your business. For me, um, I would consume it in a particular type of way. I have arthritis. I have two bad knees from playing basketball.
Yeah.
You know, um, Saturday might have a sweat, boy. Kisha. So we might have a sweat. We'll talk that after. But anyhow, any Saints man from basketball incidents? Yeah. Because you know I'm going to share this on my Facebook and all that. So Saturday, Kisha back. We're looking at Saturday afternoon for a sweat. But that's something left front. So for me,
Basketball sweat.
yeah, you come up. Well, there you go. You see what I'm saying? So for me, my knee is gone. I have two partially torn ACLs. If I play basketball for an hour, my knees get swollen for about a week. So my back problems. I would not have a problem using cannabis derivatives for pain management because I could tell you it works. I've had cannabis teas, I've had edibles, I've had oils, and I'm telling you, it is great for arthritis and joint pain and back pain. It's very relaxing.
How much things you would say that is like medical conditions is clean to deal with? Because I know from the Peter's touch song, we talk about glaucoma,
Right.
right, and other things. But I hear the cancer talk already too.
There are a lot of people who see cannabis as this god plant.
Anisha.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, I think that there is a limit to what is practical. Cannabis does not cure everything. It does not fix everything. But you know what? It does a lot of things. Hundreds of provable things that you could mention here in just one word, and you can Google that and you would find hundreds of peer-reviewed, properly done scientific research on those medicinal and other properties of cannabis plants. Right? So I am not a medical doctor, but I can say that I am sufficiently satisfied with what I've read about what is out there. The literature is clear. The sources of the literature, as a journalist, I can say the sources are beyond any kind of scrutiny.
Ask that question, right? Because
But hundreds of things.
Yeah.
From pain to cancer reduction, there is sufficient research that says cannabinoids are very discreet about attacking only cancer cells, whereas like chemo attacks even healthy cells. Radiation therapy attacks healthy tissue as well. Cannabis treatments, and remember too, we're only at the tip of the iceberg with treatment.
Good for insomnia.
Insomnia. You know what too?
Yeah.
Anxiety disorder.
Yeah.
Right? I've seen this. A lot of people who consume cannabis are a lot calmer after consumption. Right? And that is a major thing, especially we have to be careful about medicating youth with anything.
Yeah.
With even a Panadol. I have 4 children, and I read every label. I Google every medication that I'm going to give to my child. And if you're giving a child a Panadol for a headache, you need to know what's the dosage. Unfortunately, with recreational use cannabis, there's no such thing as dosage. You could smoke the same joint today, smoke it tomorrow, and have a totally different experience. You can smoke it next week and have a totally different experience. So what tends to happen is, if you're looking at it from a medicinal point of view, a lot more has to be done in terms of research for dosage. Right? Because if I'm going to give...
And isolate.
I mean, I don't want to talk the whole talk here, but go ahead.
I want to say, well, within the dosage, right? Normally, they have a thing called the acute toxicity level.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, serious drugs have acute toxicity level where you pass that threshold and then it could get serious, right? Now, the herb, it's not humanly possible to consume the amount of marijuana for you to reach acute toxicity level. within your metabolic rate and all of them things there. So it's impossible for you to overdose and die of a marijuana consumption, or even
But
so if
that's like
you're
200 pounds
taking
of
real, you're taking real oil or whatever it is. You know what I mean? You might have deleterious effects. You understand? But in terms of clinical um like lethalness, though is not that kind of same issue now, you know?
Right. But one of the questions, right? And like for instance, in the proposed legislation, the AG talked about testing for cannabis use, like the way you'd have a breathalyzer,
Mm-hmm.
which is quite frankly not in the realm of current technology, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a cannabis test is a urine test or a blood test, right? But it detects presence of. It doesn't detect usage of. So if you have metabolites of cannabis use from 9 months ago, it will be detected in your urine and in your blood. It does not mean that you just smoke a weed. It will have more. That's not how the current testing is. So unless the Attorney General is familiar with a new type of technology that can detect recent use versus historical use, yeah, forget that. But one of the things you said just now is very important. Lethality of a substance versus the potential for it to become um, active in your in your system. So if I consume X amount of droplets of, let's say, a oil tincture under my tongue, right,
Yeah.
and I get no effect, and I say, hey, boy, I want to get some more, and I take a next set,
Mm-hmm.
and I get what they call a creeper,
Of course.
right?
Yeah.
Because I've seen that with edibles. Edibles tend to get a creeper effect, you know, because you take a cookie and you'll be like, but this ain't do nothing, boy. And then you feel like half an hour you can't get. You'll be like, what happened? And then you realize 3 hours gone where you really thought was happening. That happens. I ain't lying about that. But what if you had ingested or used or whatever consumed cannabis and it crept up on you, and then you're now going to operate machinery or going to operate a vehicle
Mm-hmm.
or in some other way, not just potentially harmful for yourself, but those around you.
Yes.
What is the potential for that?
It would have a potential for that, definitely, you know, especially I suppose coming into legalization, it might have people trying to experiment, might have experimenters who might bite off more than what they could chew, you know what I mean? So all these things is different little adaptations, or we might have to go through until a social responsibility come to a new norm with the new state of affairs, you know.
And the other thing too, with contemporary um, medication, side effects from the medication, but also from unlisted additives
Mm-hmm.
to your main product. Now, I'm not sure if the audience would be entirely familiar with the extractive process of cannabis oil, especially. So what you would have is you have different ways to extract the cannabis oil. So many people use
Mm-hmm.
butane lighters, lighter fluid to extract that. So you would have a residue of butane in there.
Yeah.
You would have a residue of the alcohol that you would then need to process that butane extract to get it to evaporate the butane. So you'll have a lot of different process. Of course, then there's also the CO2 extraction.
Mm-hmm.
Then you will have,
How you say first, like this?
which seems to me to be the CO2 is not toxic, right? But you still need to take that oil extract to break it down. You still need to use alcohol, grain alcohol, or what they call superproof alcohol or overproof alcohol, barbash. So that the process of distilling that alcohol could also leave residue. Because remember, you drinking alcohol and you, like we say, vaping oils. It's a different consumption. So you might be putting particles into your vape oil that would have maybe passed through your intestines
Right.
or your digestive tract. But now you're lighting it,
I'm going in there.
so it might be inhaling and it might be, So I'm saying that a big part of the whole new paradigm of marijuana and cannabis consumption has to go through a process of validation of what is in that bag, what is in that vial, what is in that tube.
Well, I wouldn't even expect that to happen because the amount of poisons and things they already letting come into people's systems and allow it to be sold to people and things is like that. It would be a disadvantage for them to do any limitation on making money. If they know they have a way they can stretch that cannabis to kind of get them to make into plenty and things, they will understand. I mean, with synthetics or with synthesized things, that, you know what I mean?
A big part of the cannabis industry in the present paradigm is because it is an illicit drug. You're trying to grow as fast as possible.
Yeah.
You don't have agriculturalists. You have people who trying to make money off of marijuana. They may have the best intentions, but this thing had to grow fast before the cops burn down with weed. So you would have a lot of indiscriminate use of chemical fertilizer, pesticides, weedicides. You have those things
Mhm.
that travels with the plant. And to make your extracts, to make your oil extract, you're extracting from the plant material. The
Mhm.
buds, right? The sensi. We didn't get to that, but that sensi, the sensimilia, the buds, that is a very important part of this conversation because there's a stipulation now for allowing only the growth of male plants on your premises. But we didn't get to that yet. Extraction of the plant, the plant material, the leaves, the seeds, the bud,
Yeah.
the branches, all of those things have different chemical profiles that are essential for different things.
Nutritional.
From a nutritional, from a pharmacological point of view as well. So what you would want to get from um, seeds, right? So from
The fatty
cannabis
acid.
seeds,
Yeah.
hemp seed, those oils are very different in terms of what they would do inside your body compared to what you'd get from a bud, from a leaf, from a branch, or from a root. There's no cannabis is like the pig farming, and I know for no Rastafari, brethren, right? Cannabis is the pig farming of the agricultural industry. There is no part of the plant that you throw away,
Right.
pretty much. So everything you could grow, you can take the plant and use the roots. A lot of Rastafarian, especially in Jamaica, do ganja root wine. They take that root, they soak it in overproof alcohol, soak it for 6 months, 9 months, and just leave it there. The same way we would soak Zeba Peak. You know what I mean? You're going in your Rasta house in Jamaica, you might find a bottle soaking with root. And that, as far as I know, is very good for flu, cold, bringing up cough, um,
Salmon.
stamina.
Yeah.
It's a very nice, mellow kind of product to drink as well. I've had that. Um, that's very nice. It tastes real good. They use the seeds for oils. It's very good for your hair. It's very good for your face, complexion wise as well.
Yeah.
Um, and of course, the queen of the thing, the bud.
Yeah.
That's the highest concentration of THCs, which is the psychoactive chemicals in cannabis, right? That's what gets you high. So, which brings us to the next question. What do you think of the 4 meal plants thing?
All right. Well, I getting some information coming out of some people senior who was involved in drafting up that law now, and they're trying to see now that it's possibly a typographical error. You understand? They come in now
Oh,
and
that'd be
saying
nice
that
to
is a typographical, because immediately when I hear this four plants, it have three options. One, that they trying to basically limit the public from having any kind of One, the first option is that they have no knowledge of what they're talking about, so they just said male plants and they didn't know
That's
that it have a
one reading,
difference,
right?
right?
Mm-hmm.
The second would be that is a kind of subterfuge where they want to kind of make the public not be able to have female plants and to for them to alone be able to grow the female plants and then the public just have a set of male plants if they want to get CBD out of the plant or whatever it is, right? But four plants is still not enough to maintain your medicinal usage if you need chronic usage of this. You know what I mean? It might just be enough to maybe draw some tea or something like that occasionally, right? So, and then three is a error. You know what I mean? So right now, I don't know if it's because of the public backlash on Facebook and whatnot and thing, but I hearing that they saying that it was a typographical error and basically that we should interpret that like four female plants. You understand?
You got to put it in writing.
They need to say that on a public forum. They need to come out and say that officially.
That it was in fact a typo
Yeah.
or a misspoke or whatever.
Yeah.
For me, there are two main issues with the distinction between allowing people to grow male versus female plants. One, the native cultivar, which means that there's the plant that we call the local plant, the native cultivar. With any agricultural produce, any agricultural growing tree, anything, you will have a local strain. That is the predominant strain. Local lettuce. That will give you an idea.
Mm-hmm.
So the local cultivar is a particular type of plant. It grows really tall. It is not particularly high in concentrations of THC.
Yeah.
It gives you a kind of, if you're looking at the high that you would get, it gives you a kind of medium high. So you're not zonked out, but you're not over alert. You're not seeing green men in the corners. It's a medium kind of high. It's an experience where you're not. I mean, you guys could back me up on this. What is a local?
Local, we have different strains of local, of course, different potencies. You understand? There's some that's very potent.
The baseline local.
And most of them not. You know what I mean?
Bushweed local.
Most of them have plenty seeds in it, they're growing outdoors and not taken care of, they're just left out there and they come back and cut it. You know what I mean? And that's due to the laws and things. But I'm sure with the if we could get the cultivation part of the law intact, you understand me, that we'll be able to develop some of the strongest weed in the world with our same local.
Make it just now. Before we get to there, I want to talk about the local cultivar and the experience.
On a scale of 1 to 10, I would say it's about a 4.5, 5 in general.
Yeah, well, on average, the local herb, as you say, not very too high in THC content. It might be high in CBD content or probably working against the
I think
THC.
summer was one of the highest in the world, I think.
Well,
The CBD content of the local in general.
maybe. But yeah, local is just a light head. Local light. You to get overwhelmed, you might have to smoke several. You know what I mean? Back to back in a quick period of time for you to get this kind of high grade effect where the kind of effect where you might have to get from one high grade, you know?
And have the lack of education among the growers until they don't know what time to cut it or when to plant it and all of these things, and then they have plenty weed that in reach full maturity, all of these things going on for years and years, and people just get stuck with it.
Because of the paradigm, because you're trying to get this out
And the ground
quick, right? Because the feds could bust your farm. So there are realities that would change with legal weed, but the local cultivar would change if you only had male plants pollinating, because the pollen will go out, ants will eat it, ants will pick it up and it will dust off on their back and they will grow and they will think. You will see a lot of hybridization. So the people who would be on the commercial side, which we will get to just now, the people on the commercial side who are looking at exclusively female plantations,
Yeah.
right? And a big ganja plantation is as far as your eye can see, right? So when you go to 9 Mile and you go on a high grade plantation, you could walk for hours in weed, right? So it's a different thing we're talking about. Trinidad and Tobago is not going to be exploring cannabis on that level of commercial production anytime soon. Currently limited. Before I talked about that, I want to get to the second point of the danger of only male plants. This is assuming that this is in fact not a typo,
Yeah.
and this is in fact done on purpose to constrain the commercial potential. Because if you don't have what people want to buy, which is bud, right, which is Sensi, if you don't have that to sell, then nobody's coming by you to sell.
But here why I just say too. A whole factor, a huge factor that get leave out completely in the whole mix of the decriminalization is the industrial hemp, right? So this limit on the four plants. To me, it's supposed to have unlimited male plants or hemp strain plants. Now, you understand? So we should be able to grow unlimited amounts of industrial hemp. And if you want to say you will limit the female amount of female plants so you could produce because it had the psychoactive effect with the THC. You know what I mean? Right now, it don't have no logical rationale behind having industrial hemp illegal because it have no psychoactive effect and all of these set of things. So it coming back to again the economic sabotage and the the big business aspects where they
Let me
trying
cut
to
it to the
suppress.
bone, the 1%.
Mhm.
Do you see this as a law to benefit their political investors, their political backers, to give them the foothold in a market that international curiosity could mean billions in a very short space of time?
Well, yes, because most recently the president of Doma, Downtown
Yeah.
Owners Merchant Association, the man's making some very curious statements that how the business community in Trinidad not interested in marijuana and how it's not going to affect the small man and all kind of thing. I want to know how this man could in a public forum be really making them kind of statements
And what you
and
really mean,
Patently false.
what you mean by business?
False and
community? Who
misleading.
you talking about?
I don't know who he want. You know what I mean? The whole world, right? The whole world have marijuana industry. In all them places were legalizing millions, if not billions,
Billions.
prospective billions men looking at, right? But Trinidad now, we blind, we can't see that, we not looking at that, and you understand? That not making any sense to me. So and then when you check the laws now, if you look into the Cannabis Control Act and whatnot, 2019, they basically increasing the right now. If you get a hold with 3 ounces of weed, it's less drastic for you right now under the current laws. If you get a hold with 3 ounces of weed if they bring in this thing untampered, you're gonna have about $250,000 to pay. Otherwise, 5 years in jail, and it's some real drastic things, trafficking up to $3 million fine, and it's all kind of life in prison. It's all kind of thing they come in with
It's
now.
very onerous. And this is
And I think they just operate, give you something and take.
Yeah, it's the left hand, right hand kind of thing. You understand?
right. And it's important to understand something here. Right now, Trinidad and Tobago has a huge backlog, thousands, tens of thousands of cases before the court presently. So if they stop arrest people for marijuana possession today, you still have a backlog of cases before the court. So the caseload right now, those people who are in jail right now are there mainly because of two things. Because cannabis possession, trafficking, those are bailable offenses. So the people who are in jail right now are there because they couldn't pay bail or they could not pay their fine. So what you're doing is, and a typical fine for possession for recreational use weed would have been anywhere between 500, 1,500, maybe even as high as $15,000 for possession amounts, right? And now we also have in Trinidad laws where you can get a double up charge of trafficking if you are within a kilometer of the precincts of a school.
Yeah.
So, of course, anybody in Port of Spain, because of the amount of schools, the density of schools, almost anywhere in Port of Spain, you're going to have that double up charge of possession and trafficking, right? Which is why a lot of our youth offenders, teenage boys especially, who go before the court, have this double barrel charge of possession and trafficking because it's an automatic charge for them in the court. Their recommendation for charge for the police is trafficking and possession. So if you have a kid,
Mm-hmm.
form 4, different economic circumstances, or maybe they just, right? Automatically, with the advent of this law, that bail goes up to a $250,000 fine, and it's mandatory.
Which means that you know, worse position and cocaine and then guns and
Exactly.
Listen, what's it come like superficially the 30 grams of weed to walk around with and to expunge, not even superficial. In a real way, the clearing up of the people who are small possession is a positive thing, right? And whatnot. But I want weighing that against
The penalty.
these new drastic draconian penalties, and then what is the psychology of what's going on? You know what I mean? Why am I allowed to walk around with 30 grams of herbs, but
not to the one.
if I'm held with a pound or whatever it is, it's such a
Big
big
gap.
problem, right? It's like I killed somebody or something.
Worse.
And then when they check it out now, who going and provide this marijuana? The demand there, they don't know Trinidad we like to smoke herbs and thing, you know what I mean? But who going and supply this demand now in a so-called decriminalized semi-legal framework? Is obviously them setting it up so that, you know what I mean? When you check in the stipulations about the license and thing, there's a lot of requirements. Even when they think a lot of people cannot fit these requirements, you know what I mean? Of security requirements and certain things like that, what they're going to be demanding for you to get licensed now, you understand? So it's a lot of different things. So it basically they're bringing it like the John public who's use marijuana now supposed to end up like a consumer, just a consumer.
Exactly.
You
Like
understand?
cigarettes and alcohol.
Yeah, and we're not even supposed to even have an idea where the herb come from. Or, you understand? We have to forget, don't even study to be no producer, no
good
plant,
chance for them
nothing.
to poison us on a mass
Just consume just consume this thing and feel glad that you're not going to jail when they get hold of it. Another thing more important too is the public spaces thing too. You know what I mean? Because basically in the road, in party, in the beach, anywhere like that is public spaces, and the fine for violating that is $250,000 as well. You understand?
Yeah.
So
Mandatory.
right, so they have it like we had to be. You could possibly be in the road track walking around and have that in your pocket, but consumption is still for private dwelling places or wherever it is. But I didn't even know how that is good because then they say you can't smoke indoors and things. So it's all kind of, you know what I mean? You got to be in a private space or in a veranda or
Then your
something.
children. If they're smoking in a private space and your children in the next room, thing, what's that do?
20. That's a $250,000 charge, my
Right,
brother.
the whole thing is a big
Right. So what
That
we've
kind of
seen.
net we're getting into right now, the ganja man on the street kind of don't want this bill to really pass directly. In the current things what it's saying there, it's so dangerous that we rather hide and remain smoking or whatever it is than to basically, if I end up with a larger amount than 30 grams of weed or 60 grams of weed, face these serious penalties, you know?
Now, let's be clear about a couple of things. First of all, 30 grams of weed for personal consumption is a good amount of weed.
This is something subjective too. You know, I want to say that because as a Rasta and
some
within
people want to bathe with weed.
not even that, you know what I mean?
Okay.
One chalice load, how much weed we could fit inside of that, you know what I mean? So it's subjective and it's a cultural thing because we Trinidadian, so we will think, well, 0.5 grams is a smoke or something. But in Jamaica, self, they might say 4 grams is a smoke or something like that. Now. So you
There
have to
are
put that-
cultural biases with in terms of the amount you would consume.
well, the subjectivity towards, you know what I mean? How much? Who is this person? What's their cultural affiliation? What's their normal consumption rates? You know what I mean?
Pull 3 pulls and they like, I get
Yeah, some
No,
people cannot smoke.
yeah, like two. Remember 2 pull. The alleged minister sport at the time, 2 pull. What's up, my boy? You good? All right. I will share this with you out again. But here's what's going on.
Support us on Patreon.
Yeah, here's what's going on. Internationally, in terms of the commercial distribution and sale of cannabis products, a gram is a standard unit. So you would go in a coffee shop in Amsterdam, you would go in a coffee shop wherever you want to go in the world, Colorado, whatever, and you would be able to go to the counter and buy a gram of whatever product, White Widow, AK-47, Purple Skunk, whatever, Purple People Eater, whatever you want to eat, whatever you want to smoke, whatever, they sell it by the gram, right? So in terms of international, the standard is a gram. So we get that, Faris, we get that, Stewart, we get that, Hines, but you know what we don't get? Why this arbitrary number? What is the arbitrary number of? Why 30 grams? Why not allow the Amsterdam model, which is you cannot search somebody. You cannot be searched and find weed on you. You understand? So they can't find you, stop you. You could be smoking your weed in Amsterdam, anywhere in the world, and in the street, in the coffee shop, whatever. You can't drink though. You can't drink a beer. You have to drink a beer in a bar.
Okay.
In the premises, right? Or your house or whatever. You cannot drink in a public space, right? But you could smoke. And that's not a problem. And they can't search you. So they cannot tell you you're being arrested because you have in your possession 10 kilos of weed. How they gonna know that? Because they cannot search you, right? So but only in the precincts of Amsterdam.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, red
So
light.
yeah, right. So what they call the red light district is a specific part of the precincts of Amsterdam. So I think that law, that interpretation of what cannabis consumption is about makes sense. Because a man might want to take more home because he might have a party home. You know what I mean? He might be having a birthday celebration with his consenting adult friends, and he said, you know what? I get a good deal with some
cannabis butter.
He might want to make some butter. He might want to make some edibles.
Yeah.
Right? So I might be saying, you know what? I go and make a couple of trays of brownies. I go and extract this thing myself.
Having a birthday party, have 100 people coming through.
My brethren here have some good herb. I know heating. I'm eating good. I like heat herb. I go and buy that from him. And I go and process my marijuana. Because remember what we were talking earlier about?
It have a lot of limitations.
There are a lot of things
because I was reading through in the Cannabis Act to try to get familiarity with it. Right now they're saying in the religious, when they get a religious license, right? First of all, they put in up barriers against the religious herb being sold commercially. You understand? But I find that's a problem because
people will want the Bobo Shanti.
The Rasta community want that as economic stimulus and participation.
When Rastas going to grow weed, they would want to buy an extra Rasta and get it.
Pause. How are you going to recognize in one law marijuana use for Rastafarian as a religious thing?
Yeah.
When in every other sphere of law, Rastafarian is not recognized as a religion.
All right. Well, this is the way, because right now it has some precedent. The Prime Minister of Antigua and Bermuda, Gaston Brown, he made an official apology to the Rastafarian community across there. You understand? He acknowledged the institutionalized discrimination against Rastafari concerning herb usage and thing in modern history, a couple decades now. So, and I think similar provisions was made for the Rastafari community in Jamaica
that's in Antigua,
as well.
Bermuda, and in Jamaica.
It was also
but
made
here
in Jamaica.
Trinidad,
also in Barbados. So what I'm saying is Trinidad is not a different species of human, and we went through similar historical experience. You know what I mean? And you have Rastas who here who this is the liberty of Rastafari to use marijuana. You know what I mean? So to try to deny that is it come like you're just in denial of truth. You know?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that Rastafari does not enjoy the same shelter under the law as a Hindu,
Yeah.
as a Christian denominational,
Yeah.
uh, or as a Muslim.
Well,
You can't say that I have my dreadlocks.
okay. Well, inside of the
Here's the
same,
point I'm making.
I
You can't say
understand
that
the point.
I have my dreadlocks
And
the
you're not
same
a
way that a
Rasta.
Muslim would have in a Catholic school.
Mhm.
You can't tell me anything about my hijab. We went through that in Trinidad
Yeah.
in law. There were several. The first case was when I was still at Vox. So that had been in the late 90s with that girl going Holy Name Convent. That created a big thing. And they said basically, they told the principal, you cannot prevent the girl from coming to school with a hijab.
Mhm.
But how many times you hear about young fellas, young boys, you had to cut your dread before you come to school.
Yeah.
And you're not getting that
Yeah,
shelter
I'm-
under the
I'm
law.
gonna have braids. They will know that.
Right?
I think in Trinidad, I think
But
they,
in
they
jail now,
made
I
some
think there's a lot
they
of
made
Rastas
some
serving
they
time.
made some
Look
progress
at
with
Look,
them
a man
things.
make $400,000 the other day because they cut off his dreads
Right.
in jail. So it's still happening. What
Yeah,
I'm
they
saying
make-
is,
they
let's
make
be real
progress
here.
with that, man. I
We
think,
have,
I think
but
in
it's
Trinidad, dreadlocks is a thing allowed, you know.
Although,
Yeah,
well,
you see them sipping into the police and into the banks and to the
Dreadlocks are allowed into primary schools and things. It have Rasta children about, man.
yeah.
but look at this.
I could,
Look in this
verify
year. This girl in St. Francis College down in South, in Point Fortin. Where's St. Francis? South. Sorry, I don't know exactly.
Yeah.
But the principal sent her home.
Yeah, but they go still.
And she not dread, she just have natural hair.
Yeah. Well,
So what I'm saying is
they go have the mental issues going on.
there's one law for cannabis use and consumption for Rastas,
Yeah.
right?
It's not really
How do
for
you define
Rastas.
what a Rasta
It's not
is?
for Rastas. It's not for Rastas. It's for religious or sacramental purposes. And
that doesn't exclude Hindu. So
no,
it doesn't include
it don't have any specific wordage inside of what I read there saying Rasta. You
It
understand?
doesn't use the term Rasta.
No.
Right.
So,
religious use.
but what
Okay.
they're allowing for
So-
is that basically you're going to have to have like a registered membership. You understand? And your organization have to be registered as NGO or whatever it is and thing, and then your body would be your religious organization would be issued license to grow, cultivate, or to distribute, transport and whatnot for your community or whatever it is. Like
So in a backhand way, they're going to recognize Rastafarianism as a religion. Is that basically what is going to be the result
Is
of
that
this?
promise in that legislation? That Rasta
Because
Okay.
if what you're saying is
well, what you saying now is that you're trying to you basically questioning if Rastafari is acknowledged as a
it's not.
faith, religious faith.
It is not.
Well, I've seen recently in certain courts in Commonwealth, I think it's Zimbabwe or something, they gave them that kind of recognition. But a lot of Rastafari now, even self might want to describe the liberty as a religion. You understand? So
Right.
so it have cultural practices of indigenous peoples, which we don't really need to validate these things by being a religion. You understand?
But for the purpose of the law,
Mm.
if there is a distinction made for religious use, sacramental use,
Yeah.
well, then you need to have a definition of
Okay.
what this man is or what this right is.
Under that law there, the Catholic Church should be able to use it in the census.
In the sense of
Right.
Yeah, well,
It should be used
the
as
brethren,
a-
it have a brethren, big up Kwame come out, you know what I mean? Because he's always talk about,
we were just talking with him.
That's talking about it.
he does always talk about the entheogenic substances, you know, not just marijuana, it have, you know, salvia, it have ayahuasca, it have different substances that different cultural groups have used in historical time frame, modern time to ancient. where-
Tobacco was originally one of those
Tobacco,
substances.
You
Yes.
understand? So these are substances what people use to commune with the creator, nature, themselves, etc., etc. You know, spiritual, metaphysical, whatever it want to get into, you know. So then now, it come like marijuana is an entheogenic substance, and not really bound to any religious. It come like it only within the confines of a religious aspect or ritual that you would be using this. You know, come like thing with your appetite is a whole it is a holistic thing. You know what I mean, for wellness, various things. You know.
But the specifics of the law
Yeah.
for sacramental use.
Yeah.
This is where I'm talking about.
Well, they have it that basically, if you want to function under the religious privileges or license or whatever it is, you have to have a registered organization, NGO, whatever not, and it have to. I also read any fine print that it have to state inside the constituent documents that marijuana is a part of your sacrament, right? So, them and people who want to start to put themselves in place for religious whatever, your constituent documents have to state that marijuana is a sacrament in your all your religion, your faith, or whatever it is. Yeah.
How do you feel about that as a Rasta? Like for me, I Rasta,
Yeah.
right? But I don't smoke,
Yeah.
right? I don't eat pork.
Yeah.
I eat fish, right? I don't eat chicken, beef, and the other stuff.
Right.
But let me say in a post-apocalyptic world, like we were talking before this stuff, talk a lot of stuff here. I would hunt and eat. You understand? I wouldn't have a problem with that. From a philosophical point of view, from a deeply spiritual point of view, or anything.
Yeah.
If I feel that, you know what, I could hunt and eat, I would hunt and eat. But what I'm saying is that if I were bound in law, by law, to define what I am as a Rasta, so that I can specifically consume certain amounts more than the nominal possession of cannabis products,
Yeah.
I think that is interfering with one of the tenets of our liberties here in Trinidad and Tobago, where every creed and race can find an equal place. You are now telling me that I have to register myself as a particular believer of a particular adherent to a particular faith. What? Who gave you that power?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It going into deeper is the psychology of the Western mind, that this is how things just happen and go on, you know, understand? So the post, like what you describing there, is that you just find, well, this is just within my natural human rights, I supposed to be able to think, you know what I mean? I don't have to really register and subscribe to a specific faith in order to have this liberty then, you know what I mean?
Right.
My human rights is the liberty to have this. It's not really because I registered and under the, you understand?
Yeah.
But I want to challenge
You
you.
have dangers in that.
But
Yeah, because they collecting their list.
They have the
They,
data on what you're doing,
yeah.
right on the day-to-day private life. They could use it, they could experiment on you, especially when they're limiting your access to getting the herb. They could distribute herbs for experimental purposes, or without knowing that it have any chemicals or anything in it, because they're not concerned with that. They're so concerned with control of it. You know what I mean?
Which is the other big part of this issue. I mean, stepping aside from the very draconian issue of telling me what I am and have to be to consume cannabis products. Because up until the day that law is enacted, they never tell me what I have to declare myself as.
Because they could
Right.
fast for Ramadan without being a Muslim.
I could do what
You could light diyas for
Diwali.
without being a Hindu.
Right?
So to tell you that you have to have weed as part of the
It's yeah. So I don't know
It's
when we give.
arbitrary, very arbitrary, and
Yeah,
it almost like
discriminatory.
the government
discriminatory against people who are not, who is atheists.
Jumping out the good self.
They have
It-
atheists that has practiced using marijuana.
of course.
And then you have people who is of any religion, Christians,
Mhm.
Muslims, Jews, and everything in between.
Which part?
And I lighting up by be picking up brother. Oh. Yeah. All right. So yeah. Well, that is it. Let's see what I have to say.
Yeah, you know, a lot of what is going to happen as well. A lot of the You're not picking up yet? Yeah, a lot of what is going to happen too is going to be codependent on the commercialization of marijuana,
Right.
of cannabis products. So you raised the question just now. Where are we going to get all this weed from? Remember we were talking with the same brother you just mentioned, come out?
Yeah.
Right. So I put the question to him, how much is this thing? How much is this industry going to be? And he used a simple math, right? We've had 80,000 cannabis offenders in the history of Trinidad and Tobago, and about 80,000 is the community, right? So out of 80, yeah, the cannabis
I
using
think there's a
community.
gross underestimation.
Hold on, but let me use a number,
Okay.
just to make a number, right? It could be 100,000, it could be more, but let's use a number. 80,000 people smoking a 20 piece a day. That sound fair to you? A 20 piece a day? Right. So we're going to work with that
60,000.
number. That is an annual local consumption of over $500 million worth of cannabis. That's just smoke. We ain't talking about. I'm a journalist, and I have yet to see a resin, a hashish case. People don't really use that. There are people who probably do, but as a minority. People in Trinidad smoke weed, use edibles. That's the market. So what we're saying is, where we going to get $500 million worth of weed? Who bringing it in? Who's selling it? Now, the new cannabis control legislation proposed a licensing regime where you'll have commercial and grow and import and all of these different types of licenses. We know that it would take at least a 3-month growth cycle for you to go from seed to consumable product, right?
3 months very short still.
But you have strains. You could get usable weed in 3 months.
Yeah.
Typically, though, you're looking at a 9-month growth cycle. So let's assume that we're using all of the present arable land, but dormant. Let's say we use 10% of that land. We will have enough land space to do that, plus export. With the new licensing fees, you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars in licensing to spend to make hundreds of millions of dollars in product. How is that making sense?
I think the farmers and them wouldn't, plenty of the farmers, number one, they might even be able to afford the licensing and all of that, right? Leaving out, what they're going to do is leave out the poor man, leave out most of the population of Trinidad and Tobago. And we might run into the same problem that we have with alcohol companies. We have the monopolized rights going on here with the man who making babash now, he can't even get a call label and put it in the supermarket shelf. You understand? And the cigarette thing is like they controlling tobacco. So this here is just a setup for that to happen as well with the cannabis, where somebody could probably come in and monopolize it and leave out the rest of everybody else. You know what I mean? And I think it makes sense in that way. It makes sense for the people who have plans to monopolize the scene or to profit and turn everybody else into consumers without giving the public a chance to do research and development. As far as growing weed for the purpose of experimenting and all of these things. Nowadays they say, well, you have to be attached to some kind of scholastic body or something to do that. You know
There's a research clause as well.
Yeah, but we have regular people who could do research, like people who just plant lettuce, right, and get their own
Maruga scorpion peppers.
Maruga scorpion. Then we don't have to go to college to be a researcher. The researcher to come from practical as well.
You could be a botanist.
Yeah.
Right. Look at all the strains of exotic orchids.
Yeah.
We have extremely successful orchid growers in Trinidad.
We have
the hottest pepper in the world right now.
People who does use all kind of herbs for different things. You have people using things for ointments. You understand, man? You have people who making jewelry.
Homeopathic medicine is a very big part of it. I mean, look, Trevor Sayers is a millionaire.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Limiting the use of the plant and the amount of that people cultivate will stop plenty things from happening. as far as people making alternatives to plastic, as far as people making things for housing. Like they have some of the strongest bricks that they have on planet Earth right now, hempcrete. You understand? That's our cheapest, lightest, and strong. You understand what I'm saying? So they have all kind of research and development going to be limited by what they're doing here, and that they go and work toward disadvantage in the long run.
Yeah. Within within what you saying again?
This mic wasn't picking up?
Yeah, that green light?
Yeah.
Yeah. What is it? What touch me again on what you now touching on?
I say the way how it is now, we was asking what sense does that make? Right? And I saying it makes sense in the way that people could monopolize it, the same way they do with alcohol and tobacco in the
One
street.
thing I wanted to say is that right now we're still in a speculative mode within the price of the licenses, because none of that outlined, you know what I mean?
Right.
So possibly the whole exclusion, that whole factor where they could exclude the grassroots people and the poor people, we're gonna have to see what's the price of the license. You know what I mean? I see it have some some stipulations they have there about they're gonna have to state why they're not giving you a license. So it's not a thing where it's
You
not
can be denied.
transparent. Yeah.
But a lot of the legislation is drafted. I don't want to say copy and paste, or for the Jamaican existing law in Jamaica. So if you look at the Jamaica model and use that as a template for what we're going to have to face in Trinidad, if you had a 5-acre farm, the stipulations in Jamaica for you to have your, if you have a 5-acre farm
Yeah.
and processing your own oils for export, so you'd need a transport vehicle, you'd need a export license, a retail license. Let's say you have a coffee shop as well. Per year, you're looking at about $1.2 million US for a 5-acre operation.
Okay, well this is what I'm saying. So in Jamaica, probably they set the license fees prohibitively high. You know what I mean? So only a certain strata of people or somebody with a certain level of organization could get the capital to pay for these licenses. You know what I mean? So what we're looking at is possibly the grassroots people gonna need to make make associations. You know what I mean? And come together and come as organizations to get these licenses instead of private individual
I'm
people.
going to do some quick math in terms of how much cannabis we need for just the local market, right? So I'm going to do that. All right, so you're looking at $20 per smoke by 80,000 people, just because we're using that number.
Let me use 100 people.
All right, let me use that. All right, $20 per smoke by 100,000 people, right? It's going to be $40 million dollars per day. But how much weed is that? So how much weed you pay for and you get for $20? An ounce?
Nah.
Okay, my ounce a gram, so
Yeah, you get a
Alright,
smoke.
so
That's
you're
one
getting
smoke.
a
You get one
100.
smoke.
A quarter pound, you could say was 100 people. That's rough. That's a rough, but it also still 400 people because 4 people could smoke a split and still get high. You know what I'm saying? So
Nah, let me use some basic math. Let me be greedy.
let me say,
Let me be greedy. You go and smoke a gram.
No, if
You go and smoke a gram,
if
and I go and
if
smoke
you
a
say
you're
gram.
spending $20 a day, then that's a smoke a day. So we can just use that as
How much in that? How much is that? A quarter gram?
No, that would be a 1 gram.
1 gram per day.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're looking at 1 gram. So that's 100,000 grams per day, which is 100,000 divided by 1,000 is 10,000 kilograms per day.
Mhm.
Right? So,
About
sorry, 100.
22,000
What is that?
pounds.
Right. So 100 kilograms per day. Right?
That's about accurate.
100 kilograms of weed consumed in Trinidad alone. Trinidad and Tobago alone.
Yeah,
Per day.
200 pound a day. That'd be-
Right. So 100 kilograms of weed in terms of trees.
Yeah.
How much trees you need to get 100 kilos of weed?
That depends on the tree.
Let me just use a typical.
Some trees you'll get kilo from 2 plants alone, and some might take you 20 plants to get a
Nah. Well, if you really want to go down there,
Let me say an average tree. The same way we usually average smoke. Let me say an average tree.
average tree,
You need
average tree,
one tree gainer.
you could possibly get 3 ounce a quarter. You know what I mean? 3 ounce a quarter pound of a one tree if it get big and successful. You know,
But average about an ounce, 2 ounce.
An ounce per tree.
Yeah.
I think that would be
So that's
small.
30 grams per tree. Let me say 100 grams per
About,
tree.
about that.
Let's say 100 grams per tree, right?
So people, plenty people don't even let the plant get to the full maturity and thing as soon as it starts to pour and things.
So 100 kilograms, right? We need acres, acres of weed,
Yeah.
right? You have acres and acres and acres of land. We don't have acres and acres of people who are willing to spend thousands and thousands of dollars to buy licenses. So what is going to happen is we are going to be ending up importing cannabis from places that cannabis is still illegal.
And then,
Right now,
I'm glad you make that point because it have
I don't know. I don't
the
know.
ganja is a real resilient plant. Let me put that first, right? It's growing all different kind of soil. They have it growing in places that slightly colder. They have it growing in places that slightly warmer. They have different strains growing. They have you understand what I'm saying? So it have plenty land in Trinidad that's not farmable, or because of the terrain, or because of what people will say is the soil not suitable. But we have this is where the research and development aspect come. We could use it have so much different types of ganja that's going different kind of land that we could find what will go in this land here and we'll be able to utilize land that right now is not being used.
Yeah, I think that I think there's a lot of land, and I think we could grow locally the local demand. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
We just haven't really explored it, and we now you're accustomed to that.
Yeah.
the
Because
fact
if
is,
Jamaica 2 million people, or 2.5, is double the size of Trinidad, and Jamaica don't really know about no imported nothing. You understand? They don't know. If to have high grade from California and thing is artists and high society people in Jamaica had a kind of grade there. You know what I mean? Normal man is getting from in country, St. Anne, St. Thomas, wherever it is.
but right now, Trinidad and Tobago, the usage profile is we import marijuana from Venezuela, from Colombia through Venezuela, and from St. Vincent, right? So that's really the three sources of marijuana in Trinidad and Tobago, right? So
Outside of the local.
outside of the local, and of course you have local, right? So what is going to happen is to supplement use for just local, we're going to have to be importing cannabis from um, Venezuela and Colombia that are not marijuana is not legal. So this is what I'm saying. We have created, unless these issues of supply and demand are addressed, right? We are going to be creating a big deficit, and that is going to drive up the cost,
Yes, really.
right? But guess who is going to be benefiting from that increased cost? The licensees,
Right.
the 1% who are already in place. I've read a newspaper story today. Johnny Soon, popular entertainment entrepreneur, owner of Coconuts and Zen and all those Tao and all of those different carnival franchise. Johnny Soon, who was very present in the cannabis consultations that took place with government earlier in the year as well. Johnny Soon has a cannabis grow company
Yeah.
in St. Vincent. So what is happening is we are seeing where entrepreneurs have taken the mantle and taken up the challenge because he's also the person behind Vape It or whatever, the vape store, the vape supply store. So he has created his own niche, right? I admire Johnny Soon's entrepreneurial spirit. He started radio with 96.1, a very thriving and one of the more popular stations here. So clearly he understands business, understands entrepreneurship, he understands investment and the return of that. So he's not going to be looking at something where you go and sink your money and it lost.
No.
Right? Johnny is not a man to try bust fat. So clearly he ain't going to jump out a set of money to invest in marijuana cultivation and research to lose money. Who else? In the rumor mills, you're hearing Blue Waters coming out with a Green Waters. You're hearing kind of the Cannings company coming out with infused cola, right? So you have a lot of stuff going on, right? So the potential for it is there, right? And we need to understand what that dollar figure is going to be, right? But here's what though, that was just a taste. That was just a little small thing. We're coming back here again Thursday night, 7 p.m. Yeah. Word. And we're gonna have Kwame. We're gonna have Qlen from Stay Calm It's a Plan. We're gonna have Nazma Muller, one of the activists who have helped bring this project here. And of course, your boy is gonna be here. I'm gonna be here. Everybody's gonna be here. The couches are gonna be packed full with real things. So
and we're gonna keep coming to the series also, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, share, and subscribe, and get everybody to tune in and let me get active on this thing. Right? Let me get active on educating the public and of course let me get the politicians and them to hear what we're saying and to hear us, you know what I mean? Because they say this weed legislation here could be revolutionary in terms of economic and ecological development as well as nutritional and all of this thing, exportation. You know what I mean? It has so much different areas where it could benefit. You know what I mean? So
and we want to talk more about that. You want to make some closing statements before we bounce?
Well, I want to basically, I would like them to highlight the economic part of it, because I find that basically they gain on like if it have no economic ramifications of this bill, and like if it's just more about social justice to deal with the people who incarcerated, you know what I mean? So but you can't pull that blinds over with eyes, you know what I mean? We know that
we see the money, man.
It gonna have a huge economic impact.
You go from jailing a spirit to no controlling the market. It's like, you know what I mean? That
In one fell swoop, you know what I mean? So, and within righteousness and thing, I would like to see the grassroots people get a large stake in the business, you know what I mean? So I in fact, the old man, the Rastafari,
government ministers and all the people and magistrates and turkeys and everybody who was involved in the victimization of marijuana users. I want to see how much of them become involved. I want to see how much people get left out. You know what I mean? Because I'm already expecting it. You see, we talking about it's a speculative point right now, and we're at a speculative stage where we're talking about this thing. You know what I mean? But the people already know what to expect. People already know what to expect. Judging from simple things as far as getting your food on the shelf right now, as a let me say make your own peanut butter, let me say make your own alcohol. You understand? Not for you to go and get a license to sell that, or let me say you grow your own tobacco and you wrap your own cigarettes for sale. You know what I mean? If you go and sell cocoa in the market, well, they stopped that recently, right? Now, for the first time, they can sell cocoa in the market. I think that's like 2 years old. You know what I mean? But before you couldn't take cocoa and go and sell it in the market, that was illegal. You know what I'm saying? So you have to think about all these things and judge them from their history, not from what we expect them to be, because from that legislation, they could already tell as a slap in the face to people intelligence. You know what I mean? That's my closing statement.
All right, so that's what's up. Share it, you like it, subscribe, spread the word. Remember, this thing could only happen if a lot of people understand what is going on. So a lot of the details we're talking about might seem like, oh gosh, what are they talking about? It's important because the devil is always in the detail. They can't blind you unless they know what it is you're looking for. So that's it for your boy. Thursday night, we back up in here. Maybe next week, Tuesday, I might come and talk some more sense with something else. Yeah, man, who knows? But that's the scene. All right, so we out. Respect. Yeah. We are shots.